Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions here to talk about The X-Files, Season 2, Episode 3, titled Blood. The episode's description reads as follows. Mulder and Scully investigate a series of violent killings committed by seemingly normal residents of a small town. The teleplay was Glenn Morgan and James Wong, with a story by Darren Morgan. Although he had previously played the monster in the previous episode, The Host, this marks the first time that Darren Morgan contributed to the series in a writing capacity. The episode was directed by David Nutter, and the episode originally aired on September 30th, 1994. Before going any further, I will tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give me a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you are already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to my channel. Alright, this is another episode that I really enjoy that has a mixed reputation amongst the fandom. This episode marks the second appearance in the series of the Lone Gunman. They were originally only intended to appear in the Season 1 episode EBE, but they proved so popular on the internet forums that they were revived for this episode. The story was inspired by writer Glenn Morgan's own hematophobia, as well as controversy over spraying in Southern California. The episode begins at the post office with Edward, played by William Sanderson, 134 credits for him, including a sheriff on True Blood, which is kind of ironic, and an episode of Bones and Lost. He gets a cut. He's brought into his boss's office, where he's told that because of cutbacks, he's going to have to be let go. He goes back to his desk, staying on until the end of the week, when his display says kill, and then kill again, and then kill them all, and that's where our credits start. A bunch of people are in an elevator when a man starts to see a sign saying he can't breathe, and to kill them all. Apparently he listens, because next thing we know, we cut to Mulder, asked to investigate the crime. Sheriff Spencer is giving him the rundown. A bunch of people killed in an elevator by a stockbroker, and he feels over his head in this particular case. He's played by John Saigon, 108 credits for him, which seems to include a ton of voice work. He died on May 13th, 2017. His character has the distinction of being one of the few supportive law enforcement types in the series, and he actually believes Mulder throughout the episode, which is novel in itself. The first time Mulder speaks is when he sees the damaged elevator display, and he asks if it had been damaged during the incident. Spencer doesn't know, but he says he'll check it out. The suspect was a real estate agent, and Spencer says that things like this don't happen here. More incidents like this have been happening recently. Mulder asks about drugs. The sheriff doesn't think they do drugs in this town. I'm really not so sure about that. I think that's kind of a naive viewpoint. Basically, small towns, they're more likely to do drugs than not. But that's just my point of view. Edward is at an ATM. He sees a girl who's got a nosebleed, and Edward really doesn't like blood. The ATM instructs him to take the security guard's gun and to kill them all. He beats on the machine, and the security guard chases him off. Mulder monologues that the people would seem to be usually the victims of a violent crime are instead the ones committing the crimes. Scully reads his notes, and a woman, Mrs. Roberts, goes to get her car from a mechanic. The mechanic wants to tell her about some other problems he found, and the display says she's going to be Me Too'd, and she reacts to this by killing the man. She's played by Ashley Gear, 144 credits for her. Internet Movie Database says Ashley Gear, the actress portraying Bonnie McRoberts, was one of the few adult film actresses to land regular roles on U.S. network TV series while maintaining a porn career. She was in also Space Above and Beyond. The mechanic is played by Gary Rousseau. He showed up in the revival season 11, the finale. That would actually end up being the series finale, as it turns out. There were 43 credits for him, including an episode of Sliders, 2 episodes of The Outer Limits, and 7 Days. Mulder and Spencer examine the crime scene. We meet Larry Winters, played by George Detalis. He was in the first season episode Eve. This is his last appearance on the series. Mulder thinks he's made a connection, and there must be some kind of evidence that brings him to Mrs. McRoberts, because he eventually ends up going directly to her house. During the visit, the microwave warns her that Mulder knows. She attacks him and ends up getting shot by Spencer. Scully performs the autopsy, which indicates intense phobia, and an unknown substance, like what was found in the other body she examined. She thinks the substance is LSD. Edward applies for a job, and doesn't get anywhere with that. A woman asks him to sign up for a blood drive, which is a no-go, because as you can probably tell by now, he doesn't like blood very much. And then suddenly he notices the TVs going nuts, and showing Edward images before telling him to look behind him, which is a bunch of guns. And then it instructs him to do it, so Edward this time listens and goes and buys a gun. Mulder, out for a run, notices a truck throwing something on the ground, and it turns out to be dead flies. He takes it to the lone gunman, and they give off different theories about the flies. He asks about the chemical compound on the body. Langley recognizes it as LSDM. Hickey asks about Scully, and Mulder says she's afraid of his love for him, which is why he did not take her this time. And that seems legit to me. LSDM is supposed to make bugs afraid, so they leave the plant. And Mulder wonders if that might have the same impact on humans. Mulder borrows some night vision goggles, which Hickey says he will give if Mulder gives him Scully's phone number. And the next thing we know, he's out and about in a field with these very goggles that we were just talking about. So my question is, did he end up giving Hickey the Scully's phone number? And how peeved is she at him for that? We don't actually get an answer on that question at any point in the series. Mulder uses the goggles and eventually ends up getting sprayed by chemicals. In the hospital, Mulder accuses Larry of spraying chemicals, thinking it caused the problems. Spencer is supportive. Larry leaves, and Scully says Mulder is proof that the thing that's causing everything isn't LSDM. Mulder sees a shoe ad and jumps to subliminal messaging. He thinks the LSDM heightened people's phobias, and the messages told them what to do with their fears. Spencer leaves the room without saying anything, which makes Mulder think that he does not believe in what he's saying. Mulder thinks that this must be a controlled experiment by the government. He says that fear is the oldest trick by the powerful to keep us distracted by what they are doing. I say that all the time, so amen there, Mulder. Spencer re-enters the room. Larry has agreed to stop the spraying and to blood testing the people, but the official explanation cannot be LSDM. Edward sees a commercial about this. He avoids a volunteer as his watch goes off, telling him to kill. Eventually, Mulder is informed that Edward is among the people who were not tested, and so he ends up going to visit Edward. The agents go to his house and find it trashed. They find a case that should have a gun in it, but it doesn't. Mulder looks into him and realizes what he's afraid of, and knows where he is going. Edward gets on a bus, and he gets let out around the college just before the stop, so Mulder and Scully do not get to him. Edward goes into the tower as he is instructed to do so, and from the tower, he starts firing. Mulder realizes the location. He runs up the tower and tries to talk him down. Mulder says that if he doesn't put down the gun, either Mulder's going to have to shoot him or Edward will have to kill him. And either way, there will be a lot of blood around. Mulder shows a cut that he has on his wrist, and when Edward starts freaking out, Mulder manages to tackle him and get the gun away from him, and he's taken away in an ambulance. Mulder calls Scully, but is distracted by a text message which reads, "All done, bye-bye." And Scully answers the phone, but Mulder just stares at his phone and never answers Scully. And that is where the episode ends. Yeah, a fun little episode. Yeah, that's all I got for you for this video. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter, Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Corman Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave from Corman Productions, signing off.